What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Blank Online here today to chat with you more about some Call of Duty 2020, and we have some interesting news regarding this game in terms of setting, universe, what it actually is going to be called, and all of that good stuff. So let's get into it here with the report, mostly coming from Twitter from a gentleman named Jason Shearer, where people were asking him questions and he was basically answering them. I don't know what affiliation this guy has with Treyarch or with Activision or with Call of Duty in general. But we're going to go through what he says, we're going to go through the questions that he's been asked and his answers to them. So there was, in the original sort of, when this first sort of released, it was about a day ago when this information came out. Now, originally, the news was that Call of Duty 2020 was not going to be a reboot like we first thought it was going to be, and it's actually going to be within the same Black Ops universe. Originally we thought it was going to be maybe Black Ops 5, or maybe it was just going to be called Black Ops, but apparently that's not exactly the case. Jason Shearer says the setting is apparently going to be Cold War/Vietnam, which is something that we thought was going to be in the first place. We did believe that we're going back to that sort of setting, that sort of time, purely because of us thinking it's going to be a Black Ops reboot and that sort of stuff. Jason Shearer also blatantly points out that he doesn't think it's going to be a reboot, and he says that while he's not a COD person, he's heard a couple of titles being thrown around, and one of those titles being COD Vietnam. So that's basically the meat and potatoes of everything. That's the main things to come out of this news report, and I kind of want to talk about my thoughts on all of this coming out right now in terms of those details there. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with this game, because if it's not a reboot, what do they do with this sort of setting? They've done Cold War, which was Black Ops. They've done Future, which is Black Ops 2. Black Ops 3 is further in the future, and Black Ops 4 was not quite in the future, but kind of after Black Ops 2. There's a couple of holes to fill in. Between the endings of Black Ops 1 and then even before the beginning sort of flashbacks of Black Ops 2, sort of kind of, I guess, telling the story of how Sergeant Woods found himself in that container that we sort of discover him in one of the early missions of Black Ops 2's campaign. I think there's a setting and a story to sort of be told there, and I think it's interesting for them not to go in the same route as Modern Warfare did with rebooting the franchise, because I guess one of my biggest things that I was kind of concerned about was Call of Duty going through the same cycle of just capitalizing on what made this franchise successful in the first place. And while this game may not be blatantly called Call of Duty Black Ops Vietnam, it's at least going to be set in that universe, so we can still introduce characters that were in that universe. So like characters like Hudson and Woods, for example, are a few, and then sort of keeping it familiar to that universe while still having that sort of Black Ops twist to it all. And I think that if we're going to be getting Call of Duty Vietnam, it makes a lot of sense as well, because Sledgehammer Games was working on a Call of Duty game called Call of Duty Vietnam back in the day, where it was sort of like a third-person kind of Call of Duty game. So assumedly they'd still have some assets from that game and from that sort of world they created. And then again, it makes sense because Treyarch is being sort of thrust onto this project and sort of picking up from the slack where Sledgehammer left off, because originally, yes, this was meant to be a Sledgehammer game. They weren't going to get this game done in time, so Treyarch came in to sort of finish it up for them, and it would make sense for them not to sort of stray away from what their original sort of plan was going to be, but then again make it sort of their own game, therefore putting it in the Black Ops universe that they know so well. One of the things that I think will be interesting to see here is where zombies takes place in this game and in this universe, because it's a Treyarch game. You'd assume zombies would come back. We just got the finish to that whole original storyline. Do we see a new storyline come in? But then again, if we see a new storyline come in, where does that sort of take place within the old storyline? How does that whole thing take place? Are we going to be seeing a new zombie storyline within this same Black Ops universe? Like, there's a bunch of different variables and things that we can sort of take from this, and a lot of sort of different ideas that we can kind of speculate here as well, with the setting being Cold War/Vietnam. Are we gonna sort of pick up where we left off in terms of campaign from the ending of Black Ops 1? Do we see the fallout of what happened in Black Ops 1? Like there's so many different things that we can kind of speculate about. But one of the things that I'm very excited about this game, and if it is going to be Cold War Vietnam, is sort of, I guess going back to sort of the grittiness of the Black Ops series. Like Black Ops 1 was such a dark, gritty game, and it reflected in the multiplayer, and the multiplayer of Black Ops 1 was fucking fantastic as well. Like the setting and everything sort of fits so well with that sort of universe that they created. I think it's going to be exciting to kind of come into Call of Duty 2020 with that same sort of feel and that same sort of setting, and sort of relive that, but as well as that, sort of bring it into that new generation of hardware and the sort of mechanics that we have nowadays, and explore that sort of world. I think that we're going to sort of have a stripped back experience from what we've had previously. Things like pick 10 system, things like the gunsmith. And while I'd love for the gunsmith to come back in Black Ops or the new Call of Duty 2020, I think that it's going to be interesting to see how, in terms of multiplayer, they sort of take this game, because we have to take into account that it's not as advanced as we have now. Like your modern shooters like Modern Warfare 2019, or your sort of kind of futuristic shooters like your Black Ops 4s. We're going to see sort of like World War II sort of things, and obviously like the original Black Ops and World at War as well. World War II is the most recent example, and in that game you didn't have a crazy amount of attachments. A lot of the attachments they weren't like what we have now with the gunsmith and Modern Warfare, and I think it's going to be interesting to see us go back to a sort of more simple style of creator class. Whether or not that bodes well for replayability, I think that if it worked in Black Ops 1, it's going to work here in Call of Duty 2020. I think that with, I guess, moving from that sort of Black Ops 1 realm, and especially once we got into Black Ops 2 with the pick 10 system, every single year therefore after, in terms of multiplayer, just tried to up the ante, tried to go that next level. I think one of the most refreshing things about World War II was the fact that it stripped back what we originally knew and what we've been getting for the past years. It stripped it back, and it sort of took us back to the basics. Then we went crazy again with Modern Warfare 2019 with the gunsmith and all that sort of stuff, and I think that taking another step back into sort of the maybe basic's not the right word, but that's the only word I can kind of think about to describe it right now. But taking a step back into sort of like just having your bare, maybe not bare necessities, but sort of like your bare attachments, like your red dot sights and your extended mags and all that sort of stuff, and then sort of look to add replayability in the multiplayer in terms of actual content themselves and different other creative ways, rather than just throwing 70 plus attachments onto each and every weapon that we can sort of grind to unlock and play around with, because there's only so many amount of times you can max rank your gun before you stop using any other gun, because why would you go and use a level 1 gun when you have your level 71 M4 with all the attachments possible? So I don't know, I'm excited and I'm optimistic about Call of Duty 2020. It's still coming out this fall, so it's not been delayed due to what's happening in the world right now, so it's still on track to be released at the time that it was meant to be released, probably mostly because the game was so far in development before Treyarch got their hands on it, and Treyarch kind of just had to make little, well, maybe not little, but they had to sort of just finish it up to kind of take it to that next phase where it's ready to be released on time. And I think that helped. I think this whole sort of situation where Treyarch took over from Sledgehammer in the end actually eventually worked out, because if you can imagine Treyarch having to take over from Sledgehammer and having the game in such a state where this literally won't be available for this year, and how damaging that would be, not in terms of us, well, maybe in terms of us, because then we have to stick with another year of Modern Warfare, but I guess damaging in terms of Activision and them having to sort of delay this big release, because Call of Duty, of course, is one of their biggest releases of the year. So for them, from a business point of view, delaying that wouldn't have been the best thing to do. But I guess looking back at it now, and especially what's happening in the world, if Treyarch just kind of got their hands on it to sort of carry the game to that next stage and carrying it to the end, it kind of worked out. So we're still getting Call of Duty 2020 in the fall. Apparently it's going to be Call of Duty Vietnam in that Cold War / Vietnam setting. There's a lot of opportunities for places for them to put the story and ideas and mechanics for them to have the multiplayer, and I'm super excited as we start to find more out about this game. It's April right now, so we're going to start to find out more leaks and more information about this game as we ramp up to the release, because this game releases in 6 months. So in about 6 months time, we're going to be having this game, we're going to be playing it, we're going to be experiencing it, so we're going to start to get those teasers and trailers and stuff like that coming in the next couple months. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did. Comment down below, what do you think of the Cold War Vietnam setting that we're going to be getting for Call of Duty 2020? What do you think about the universe, it still being in the Black Ops universe but not taking the Black Ops name? Let me know all that stuff in the comments down below. Click subscribe if you're new here so you don't miss out on my next video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.
She wanna know my real name. She getting way too comfortable. Now she wanna wear my chain. I'm feeling way too